Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday meeting of the BOCC. We'll start with invocation. We have Mr. Abel with us today, and we appreciate that, and let him lead us in invocation.
This is from God's word, Philippians 1:9. And this is my prayer, that love may abound more and more in knowledge and depth of insight, so that you may be able to discern what is best and may be pure and blameless until the day of Christ, filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ, to the glory and praise of our God. Father, I just ask over Cowlitz County that there be unity, compassion, and love for all people. And for this meeting, Lord, I ask for the safety of those here, wisdom and love for them. And we ask this in Jesus' great name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Those that want to join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Let me see what agenda I'm working from here. I'd entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of October 20 to 22nd.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, call for a vote. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you. I'll run down consent agenda as best I can. Proclamations. Gina, do you want to do that? We're going to start with a proclamation recognizing October 2025 as the 80th anniversary of National Disability Employment Awareness Month in Cowlitz County. I think con Gina into reading that for us.
Sure, I would love to. So I appreciate the opportunity to bring this today, as we've been involved in supported employment services for individuals with developmental disabilities for quite a few years in the county, lots of local support. And so I'm going to read through the proclamation. Okay. Whereas October 2025 marks the 80th anniversary of National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and whereas the purpose of National Disability Employment Awareness Month is to raise awareness of employing individuals with disabilities and to recognize their contribution to the workforce, and whereas Cowlitz County individuals with disabilities, families, friends, job coaches, and local businesses have created opportunities for individuals with disabilities to obtain and maintain employment within Cowlitz County. And whereas employment for all people, including individuals with disabilities, contributes to a strong community economy and increased independence. Now, therefore, it be resolved that Cowlitz County recognize October 2025 as the 80th anniversary of National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and thanks the many people in our community who have contributed to increased employment opportunities for all members of our community. And I just brought a couple, I know I've showed this here before, but we have over 50 local businesses that hired individuals with disabilities or currently have individuals employed. So I just brought a couple of those handouts if anyone's interested in looking at those. We also have it up on our website. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to bring this forward just as a way to do an additional recognition and acknowledgement of the work that's happening in the community.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Gina. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Sedigert and I had the privilege of seeing a young man grow up that participates in these programs, and he's a special kid, so we're glad to see we can help. Consent agenda, call for public hearing. We got a closed public hearing coming up on November 4th, 2025 at 9:30 to consider preliminary rural subdivision plat approval, KT West subdivision is off Payne Road. A closed public hearing, just to remind you, and I'll remind again on November, unless you've spoken at the Planning Commission about this project, you're not allowed to speak here. It's not an open mic. Agreements, contracts, bid awards. I got 2 sheets going here. Bid award to JL Stordahl and Sons for the purchase of rock delivery stockpile for the roads, total amount 91,286. This year, we're stockpiling some rock in three different locations. Three different shops, so we have it on hand. Amendment number 4, the contract of the Washington State Healthcare Authority to provide funding to develop and implement the medication for opioid use disorder in jails, extending until June 30th, 2026. The additional funding is $437,000. This is money we get from the state to help offset what it costs us over there. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all interlocal agreements of participation for Spillman's Records Management System. Cost share with the city of Castle Rock, you'll see, city of Woodland. These are records that our sheriff's office works, and it's the cities use this. We charge them. I asked yesterday, it's based, the share to the city is based on the number of users that they have in the system. So we have a agreement with, as I said, Castle Rock, City of Woodland, City of Kelso, City of Kalama, and City of Longview. 9, contract with Washington State Department of Ecology to provide Washington Conservation Corps crews to be used in grant-related projects. What we use these folks for is up in the monument. Well, 2 weeks up in the monument, and then it's a 3-week program. It'll happen. I don't know when Jennifer sends them out. I'm sure it's not in the winter, it'll probably be spring or summer. And they'll spend 2 weeks in the monument working on noxious weeds, and then she had a week they were going someplace else. Board correspondence, affidavit of posting resume for the month of September. Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, a letter for comprehensive assessment of the Merwin project. FERC regarding the 2024 Merwin, Yale, and Swift #1 projects. FERC dated 10/16/25 regarding the 2025 dam safety inspection follow-up Yale project. FERC notice dated 10/10/25 regarding the 13th part 12D report for periodic inspection of the Swift #1. Memo dated 9/23/25 from Lexington Control Zone regarding the 26 budget estimate. Letter dated 10/23/25 to the Boundary Review Board regarding the annexation of Hazel Street Railroad grade separation, which officially annexes the land into the city of Kelso. Is that their bridge project over by going into the golf course? Yeah. And number 11, the last one, the sheriff's signed a personal service agreement with Incident Management Partners to provide emergency evacuation planning and consultation services, total cost not to exceed $8,000. They work with Department of Emergency Management for that. Vouchers in the amount of $2,501,508.32. That's consent agenda. Questions, comments on consent?
I just had one,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, on all those, things that we get from FERC. Are there like, is it a continual project that's going on at those dams? Cause we get them very often.
yeah, they're always, they're copies of letters between the Regulatory Commission and Pacific Power, and we get a copy of that, and they're always, since I've been here, it's almost weekly
Yeah.
that they're corresponding on different projects up there, different things they're doing. Anything else? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Can we have a motion to approve? Last chance for questions. I don't see any hands. Call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We don't have a public hearing till 9:30. I will update you on something that was brought up last week. We had a gentleman in and come and ask about work being done on down Pacific Avenue, North Pacific Avenue in Kelso, or out by the railroad. This came from one of our employees. This is a response to the work occurring between the levee and the river in North Kelso. The Dike District owns and operates land under the levee with a small strip at the toe to help with maintenance. For the most part, the land south of the old water plant is owned by the city of Kelso. The land north of it is owned by BNSF. The crews that have been working removing vegetation in that area is a combination of a contractor and the county work crew, both hired by the city of Kelso. I believe that once that area south of the plant is done, the work crew will move north of the plant and work for BNSF. They are removing brush and any trees that appear to be danger trees. So if anybody was in attendance last week, that was a question, and that's the answer to that. Other than that, we don't have anything till 9:30, so if you have something, we'll open it up till then. We do have Board of Health coming in at 10 today.
Just a quick update, Mr. Chair, on the deal with Walker Road.
Yeah,
I communicated with the gentleman who was here and through a couple of other people via email and confirmed with the sheriff it is a civil matter and that it is up to the original plaintiff to bring awareness to the court that the gentleman on Walker Road has not complied in order for it to go any further. And I did get an email from somebody who was watching the video, who was watching our meeting. And I forwarded that to you guys this morning when I got it. He's asking us to take extra steps to see what we can do as a county to alleviate this in the future. I don't know if there's anything that we can. It's private property. And he's doing what it's his own land. But anyway, I forwarded that to you guys, but they were happy that we at least gave them what the next step is. They're not happy that they have to pay an attorney to take them back to court, but that's
Yeah.
not, there's nothing we can do about
Yeah.
that, so.
well, I appreciate that. Those are tough ones because basically they're asking us to intervene in a private matter, and I think that's walking it.
Yeah, I also followed up with building and planning on that same subject to see if was there any way we could stop work order on that or do anything from the building and planning side, and had a conversation between building and planning and prosecuting attorney's office, and basically the answer is no. It goes back to, like you said, they gotta follow up with the court again.
Yeah, this gentleman's asking us to create a code and an enforcement mechanism for that type of stuff in the future, and I don't know if that's within our purview or not.
The private road is a
Yeah,
problem.
And it's private property.
Yeah.
so, I don't know.
True. Mr. Kaiser. Did you notice I brought up the names of Magnuson and Jackson last week?
You hit it, that your neighbor never caught the drift, whoever.
Oh, okay.
Said that, I know exactly what you meant.
Yeah.
Steve Collins, this Walker Road thing, I have not looked at it, not gonna drive up there, and look at it, I think I get the drift. If you guys check the records, this was about 25 years ago, I believe there was a county ordinance put on about if you had somebody like that. It got nothing to do with that right of way, it's got to do with his neighbors, his immediate neighbors can complain, like, if you turned your house into a junkyard, I couldn't complain about it, cause I'm not your immediate neighbor.
Yeah.
Maybe some other people in the room here might be able to complain because they're a little closer, but I believe it was adopted, I'm not sure, but there was a lot of falter around it 25-ish years ago. Like if you turned your place, like I said, into Junker Jones, none of my business, because they ain't bothering me because I don't live there, but the next door neighbor, and it had to be immediate, you know, like both sides and across the street type of thing, could complain about that. So I don't know if it was ever adopted for sure or not, but I know there was a lot of talk about it at meetings and in the Daily News, follow up on what was going on in the meeting. That might be one avenue to pursue. That's my 2 cents worth this morning.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. So an additional follow-up on the Walker Road and building and planning. Since there is the requirement for private road for the easement and the right-of-way, and if that right-of-way has been compromised significantly and someone in that 70 whatever residences or a new one wants to build or get a permit in there, can the county issue the permit when that right-of-way has been violated and is no longer meeting the requirements of our county safety, health and safety?
Like at this point, I'm not sure the right of way has been violated is the problem, right?
Yeah.
The right-of-way has been violated with
Right.
the mess right up to the edge of the roadway, then the right-of-way has certainly been violated.
I don't know how wide it is on there, but my understanding is it hasn't at this point.
Okay, but again, if I come to you or you to building and planning and want to put a private road in, I'm required to have the 40-foot wide easement on there and make sure that it is a 40-foot wide easement. So either it is important for safety and health or it isn't. That's
Yeah.
Oops.
I don't know the answer to that
okay,
one.
so
right
that
now.
would be
I
another
have to-
follow-up
Yeah.
on the stance of county and building and planning on private roadway. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd come to you later on and as I told you last time, I abandoned, not abandoned, I sold some property because I couldn't economically meet the 40-foot wide easement. Now you're telling me it's not, I'm not saying you're telling me, but by action, it's not necessary. So that's a follow-up.
Another suggestion that I got was that the homeowners develop an HOA. And part of the bylaws would be that you can't have it the way that it is.
You know, and I think that's, I was gonna bring that with BPAC is when you guys do these private roads, you should put some kind of HOA type activity with it on what you
Can't do.
can and can't do with it. I totally agree. Oh, there you are.
I'm back.
Okay.
I like to go back up to number 11. And I just have a question because I've never heard of an evacuation plan. Would this be for Longview, Kelso, the county? And if there is any kind of a plan, shouldn't the public know about how it goes about, how it's implemented? If there is, I mean, apparently we've got all kinds of mountains and earthquake thingies going on. And so shouldn't the public know if there's something happening, especially if we're spending money on it?
Yeah, I know there is a evacuation plan that Department of Emergency Management has. I'd have to, it may be on their website, but I know when they have an emergency, they enact whatever it is. But how visible it is out there, I don't know, Flo. I'd have to look at that, but I know they have.
They have one, but
Yeah.
nobody knows about it.
Well, that could be, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Top secret.
Tim's not here today.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the city of Kelso also, when this was brought up at their council meeting, Andy did say that the city does have an evacuation plan also, and they just need to work on getting it made public so people are aware of it. So I'm sure the municipalities have them, it's just not, people aren't aware of them.
anything else?
Good morning again. A further inquiry question is that since the diking districts come to the county for funding, and the diking district's been in the news lately again regarding us and Charlie's Restaurant and the inability for private enterprise to proceed there because the Dyking District apparently has purchased the Charlie's Restaurant property. It leads to the question, the Dyking District has purchased that ground. It also, by my observation, purchased the ground south of that where public political signs used to be placed, and then they took that out of service because they didn't want political signs out there. Do you know what the purpose of the Dyking District purchasing those grounds are? And there's background, is that the riverfront, major riverfront along the whole area, you can't build on because of the dike that's there, except for the ones that were grandfathered. So there's got to be a reason why the Dyking District is purchasing these grounds. And then the second part would be purchasing the ground all the way out to the road versus if it is compromising the dike. I don't know. But they'll be coming, we're paying for their purchases.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was checking to see if one person was on that might have an answer to that. But we can get that answer for you, Ron.
Here, I'll just put it on to
A
follow
list
up.
of follow-ups.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You guys are giving us a to-do list today.
Mhm.
Anything else?
I've missed quite a few meetings, so I was wondering if you could give us an update on the Monticello Hospital. I understand the sale from Charlie's fell through, so is there any new stuff on buying that building or whatever's was in the past that's
Yeah.
been going on?
Well, it's a city of Longview thing, but I believe Commissioner Rader probably has some better information than some of us.
Yeah, they were in negotiations with Peace Health, and there were some things that I was asked not to disclose, but I can tell you that currently it's halted until we have further discussion and conversation about whether or not Emerald City is going to be taking over our therapeutic courts and what that looks like moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had a conversation with Michael after our meeting, was it 2 weeks ago that we had that with Emerald City? I had a conversation with him. He is still working with Longview, the city of Longview, working some things out. But one of the things that they would like a decision on from us is whether or not we are committing to allowing them to take over our therapeutic courts. And I just let Michael know we're not ready to make that decision at this point, but we will have further continued conversations about that. I would say that our decision on the therapeutic courts is probably one of the things that's hinging on whether or not that whole situation will move forward.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sorry, guys, I can't help but ask questions. And Steve, this is for you. And you actually heard it brought up at the homeless task force meeting, the last one I could attend, because my husband's been in the hospital and he's been really sick, so I've been out of the picture for a while. But the one question that was brought up by a lady it was a very good question that left thinking about this, was granted, we really need to take care of our citizens that can't have the help. We really need to do that, and I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong on that. I truly am for that. But if we have a private entity come in to build this building and take them, and you're aware of what I'm going to say, they're going to be free to bring in people from Seattle and Portland and anywhere else, okay? And then they will treat them. Granted, they will treat them. When these people have been treated, where are they going to go? Onto the streets of Longview so that our our people, our agencies that we have now functioning to their capacity, I believe, have to take on more. I mean, are we looking at maybe 300 people on our streets of Longview that are going to be special needs that, quite frankly, our city really isn't going to be able to handle a large amount of people that need that much care. Granted, they'll be released and they'll be, have been treated, so they should be functional to some capacity, but maybe not totally. And so what are we going to do? Are we going to take and, we can't, I mean, we can't take Seattle and Portland's and anyone else out of their cities burden. We just can't afford to do that. So my thoughts are, if we do this, because again, our people need to be treated. And if we can get somebody in to treat them, that's awesome. But put in a caveat to say that if we do take in from another city, then after they're treated, they get sent back to that city. They don't stay here. Because we can't do that. We can't have our citizens overwhelmed. Anyway, that was just a thought for you guys.
Yeah, that's been brought up in conversations with Emerald City, and they actually do have a plan
Good.
in place for moving people back to where their place of origin is, so to speak. So there is they do have a plan to take people back to where they came from if they're bringing them in here. The caveat to that is that because it's a voluntary program, people can just walk out if they want to. And to your point, that is correct, that if those people ended up on government programs within the county, then that would put a strain on our service providers here. That is true. I don't know that a lot of people are probably fully aware of this. It's been brought up in the paper a couple of times. It's been said that a lot of the people that are roaming our streets, and that's I think we need to distinguish a couple of things here. We're talking about the people that that we see roaming our streets, high mental issues, that's the people, the demographic that we're talking about that would create this issue. There are a lot of other people who have mental illness and substance abuse issues and things that are seeking treatment voluntarily, that are utilizing the services from the providers to get better. So we're talking about a specific group of people with regards to your point that you're bringing up here. We already bring in a lot of people. I know that this is contended by a lot of people, but I'm speaking from personal experience on this. For 3.5 years, bought bus tickets, bought train tickets, and fixed people's cars to send them back home. If I did that for 10 people, 4 out of those 10, that's what I was doing for, if I was helping them. So people can't argue with me on that because I personally experienced it. We already are bringing in people into our community, and those people are putting strains on our service providers. You can tell by the amount of money that is continually being requested by our service providers, it continues to increase because they're serving more people. So, and if you look at the numbers of the homelessness that we have within the county, it stayed pretty steady. But if you look at the number of people that we're helping, according to the numbers, the number of people that are staying homeless or being created as homeless is outpacing the number of people that we're helping. The numbers just show that. We can't stay at 350 homeless people for the last 3 years and say that we're helping 266 families buy homes and get into homes and to get into permanent housing and to get into those types of situations. So the number of people that are in that situation is outpacing the number of people that we're helping. That is because there are people that are being brought to our county, that are coming to our county and utilizing those services. People can argue that all day long, but I know that that's true.
So then, besides yourself, which I compliment you for taking these people and giving them transportation away from our cities, what else can we do?
So what my point to that is that if we have a facility here for those people,
Mhm.
then at least they're getting help. It all goes back to it's voluntarily though. We can't push a chain because eventually you're going to end up dragging that chain. So we can only help those who want help. Now there's programs that are involuntary, which means we're taking people's rights away and you have to go through the court system and that type of thing. But ultimately, what it boils down to is in my conversations with Emerald City says, look, we only want to go to places that want us to be there. That the communities are accepting of the services that we're offering and that they want us to be there. It's obvious that there's an issue in Cowlitz County, but if you guys don't want us there, we're not going to go.
Yeah.
And so that's what we need to decide. Do we want that type of a service provider in our community? Knowing that they're going to be, the only way to make it sustainable
Yeah, I know.
and financially viable for them is to bring people in also. So,
Well, and I understand.
I need to, can we pick I'm butting into our
public hearing.
Oh,
public hearing and I
oh,
need to
okay,
do that.
sorry.
I
But
hate to do that to you because it's a good conversation. Maybe we can pick it up after this public
Okay.
hearing.
thank you, Steve, for
Okay.
explaining that.
Ready for me? Good morning, Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. Today, we have a public hearing on our fourth quarter budget amendment. And we also are, the hearing involves establishing a new fund. It's called the Sheriff Equipment and Technology Fund. And so we have proposed several budget amendments. This is, like I said, this is our fourth quarter. This is typical. We go through and we adjust and we look at things that were unanticipated as far as revenue and expenses, and we make adjustments for those. For the general fund, I'll summarize. We basically are increasing our ending fund balance, $346,392. That's made up of many different line items that are going up, some are going down. And primarily, one of the larger ones is our district court reduced some of their budget line items for items that they reviewed and said they no longer need as much judge pro tem budget, for example. And so their total was a decrease of $300,008. We also had some things like not requiring a transfer to the shooting range this year for $75,000. So those are some of our larger ones. And then in our revenue and general fund, we made some adjustments to increase several of our line items related to our facility billings to various different areas. So that's the summary of what's the budget amendments that we've made for general fund. We also, in our health and human services, have several, it looks like a lot, but it's just lines that they're increasing or decreasing based upon the programmatic charges. And they are also trying to prepare for closing down a fund that will happen in the 2026 budget. They're transitioning funds that were in fund number 14101, which will now be in 14001. So, and they also looked at if they had any new state contracts and made adjustments based upon that. The only other large change was related to our tourism fund. And on our tourism fund, we used to have a fund called Cumulative Fund. That was a fund where we split the lodging tax, 50% went there and 50% went to the tourism fund for the purposes of maintaining and operating the tourist facility that was at the Johnson Ridge. That's no longer in place, so there's no longer a need for the cumulative reserve fund. And so we stopped those revenue streams. They're now 100% going to tourism. And therefore, we need to disperse the ending fund balance in the cumulative fund. And that was a total of $915,333. So that will increase the fund balance for our tourism fund They're going to use a little bit of that fund balance to engage in a marketing study, and that's a total of about $118,000. But otherwise, they've increased their fund balance for the tourism fund significantly because of the cumulative reserve. The only other thing that we did significant is that we also made an adjustment to our bond fund. We originally, the PFD had a bond payment that they refinanced this year. It was like in February or April, something like that. And when they refinanced it, we need to adjust the budget down because they're no longer having that large of a bond payment. It went from 487,800 to an annual for this year of 116,369. So we wanted to make that adjustment both on the revenue and expense side. And then our water sewer reserve fund, this is where we have the capital projects. There was budgeted for a $2.2 million project from the federal government, and that's going to now occur in 2026. So we want to remove that from 2025. And we also had ARPA projects slated. Those are also, some of them are going to, the expenses will move to 2026, 869,000 basically. What else? Had some other smaller increases. We also went through and looked at our IT fund, and we trued up the beginning and ending fund balance for IT operating to the tune of 569,000. And we also did the exact same thing looking at their IT reserve fund. We revised the beginning and ending fund balance up by $971,000. And then establishment of the new sheriff reserve fund, we're transferring in $932,931 to that fund. So we recorded those transfers in and established budgets for them to be able to buy some of their equipment later this year if they needed to. So those are some of the major changes that we've proposing in this fourth quarter amendment.
With all the pluses and minuses, we end up 346,000 in change.
Improvement in
Improvement, yeah.
improvement in fund balance for general fund, which is good.
Okay,
It's a good note for me to go out on.
yeah.
This will be hopefully my last budget amendment. So that's all.
Now you're making me
That's
sad.
everything.
Yeah,
That's everything I have for
okay,
that. And I have some handouts if anybody wants to see all the details.
okay. Any other questions? I know we went over pretty good yesterday. Let me open public hearing meeting if there's anything from the public.
Thank you for your report. My question deals with this, you called new sheriff equipment reserve fund. And I think I heard you say you were transferring 937,000 into that fund. Is that what I heard?
Hold on, I'm going to get you the exact number.
And my real question is, this isn't new. The sheriffs have always needed to have equipment. So how was it sponsored before versus now having a brand new fund?
Okay.
So general.
Yeah, I have the answers. So yes, you're right. It's $932,931. They have traditionally had parts reserves set aside in IT for replacement of all their laptops that reside in their vehicles, their rugged laptops. And then they also had the radio equipment being reserved annually in the motor pool. And so we've pulled the funds out of IT, we pulled the funds out of motor pool, and they also contributed some of their own operating funds, $150,000 this year, to establish this fund so that they can have more control over the funds and the expenditures and the timing of those expenditures versus relying on IT and motor pool.
Okay, so my perception is that it's not adding any new expenditures, just shifting funds around and creating a
Yes.
specific fund.
Right, and creating a more accountable, solid one fund for all of those things.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. One question that I have is, I can't remember the amount, but there was a considerable amount set aside for marketing of tourism.
Mhm.
Now, if we didn't spend that, because I do believe that we, at this point in time, we have enough people that know about Longview, Kelso and the surrounding areas, could that money be used in another program and make it, I mean, are we saving money by not marketing or studying the marketing?
Well, I don't think I could speak to the need and the drive for having the marketing study, but I can tell you that the funds are earmarked for only for tourism-related projects, operations, as well as facilities. So those funds that were transferred to their fund balance can be used for additional grants, for different events, for facilities, things like that, as well as operating funds.
So good. So instead of the marketing, they could go into operational. That's if they weren't used for marketing. Okay, that might be a thought because I think that we've got enough people coming into our area right now.
Yeah, I think the whole impetus was to try to consolidate individual cities looking at their own marketing and looking at a program that, from what I understand, they could look at everything everybody was doing, study that, and find, is there a way to be more efficient, to do better outreach by consolidating some of that?
Okay, thank you.
Some of those, just kind of give you a flavor of where some of that goes is Planners Days will apply for some of that stuff.
Mhm.
Laluska Foundation does. What's the building where we were out in Castle Rock over by the ball field?
Sports complex. What that is.
That we've contributed to help
Okay.
do some of that. So it goes to different things, and it can be for some structure stuff, or it can be for an
Event.
event, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for explaining it.
Any other questions from the public? Make sure I don't have anybody online, not seeing. Mike, did you have a question, or are you just standing? Okay.
Just standing.
Okay. Yeah.
In listening to those numbers on there, it seems like the most significant savings come from the drug court. And anytime any government, portion of any government decides to not use all the money that's been allocated to them, and I'm not just looking at the Cowlitz County Board of Commissioners, I'm talking every facet of government in the United States. Normally, they don't like to hand money back because the rule of thumb is if you hand money back, they're going to give you less next year. But anybody that hands any money back is to be applauded. And I think that really needs to be, looked at when the budget goes through, because that just doesn't happen. And that's $300,000 is a big chunk of change for somebody to send back. That's a heck of a lot of money. And I think there'd be applauded for the fact that they did that, no matter what they changed their operation. And they had to do that knowing that it's going to affect the budgets in the future, because obviously they didn't need that 300,000 this year. They're not going to need it next year. And then you start, somebody will, hey, let's see what else they got, since they're willing to cut back, because everybody always tries to defend their turf. I think it's a great day when they sent that money back. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, we'll close the public comment part of it. And you would need a motion from us to approve that budget amendment, so I'll entertain that.
But before we do that, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Sure.
Just the way you just explained the transfer money for the sheriff's office, so that they would have more control over their IT funds. Does that mean they're not gonna use IT anymore? Because
No.
if we're transferring that out and those were originally funds to pay for their IT services, what does that mean now?
Yeah, no, they would still utilize IT. It was specifically for the recycling or the refresh of their rugged laptops, those devices. They still have the need for IT services to support them in the operation of those machines, as well as the software, things like that. Yeah, so that it was specifically more long-term um, equipment, large purchases where they would purchase in bulk, like, for example, they purchased 50 of those devices this year because it's on a refresh cycle. They refreshed them, I believe, every 5 years. And so they set aside a little bit of money every year in order to refresh those. So that's what this fund is, just equipment and technology replacement equipment.
So it did not eliminate their IT costs.
No, it did not eliminate their IT cost. And in fact, they were contributing every year to the tune of, for the rugged laptops alone, about $70,000 to be able to put that money aside. So when the 5 years came, they had the sufficient funds to replace all those rugged laptops.
Okay,
Yeah, if I remember right, I think they said it was for the laptops and the docking stations inside the
Yep.
cars.
Well,
Yep.
Yeah.
and you remember I tried to get 3 extra tasers out of them for commissioners, but they didn't buy it.
Yeah, so yeah, so it's IT type equipment, but other technology equipment that they use, like drones, the radios, the tasers, things like that.
Yeah.
okay. Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the budget amendments.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the budget amendment. We've already had public comment, so I'll take it straight to a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, I'm gonna celebrate and have a Tootsie Roll.
We got a few minutes before 10. Flo, did you want to continue that? Do you have any more conversation, or do you feel like you got your answer? Okay. Okay. And
Now, this is going back to the question that we were talking about, correct? Okay, and I think I want to applaud that you take these people personally to whatever convenience they have to go to another city. I just feel that, we have to have some control, if it's a private enterprise, of how many they're going to put on our streets, even though we do try to get them to move out. Because I personally feel both cities are Portland and Seattle are under tremendous stress right now. We're talking maybe billions of money. And they don't want that. They want to get rid of these people. And I'm thinking that, they're going to see this as a dumping ground. And I can understand that because they don't want their problem. We don't want it either. And even though we can, we have to have strict guidelines. In other words, if we do get them in, then they get a bus ticket or whatever back. And that's because I just don't want Longview, Kelso to be a dumping ground. But you are addressing that, correct? And
Oh,
you're-
yeah. And it's a valid concern, Flo, and it's one that they have felt that they have a way to mitigate that to the best of their ability. They've also said that they're planning on dedicating a certain percentage of their beds to Cowlitz County, which, I mean, I would say that there's a lot of gray area, being a for-profit entity. If Cowlitz County is giving you everything that they got and you still got the 10% of the beds that you allocated for Cowlitz County available, and you get 3 people from Clark County, you're gonna fill the beds. I mean, that's just the way it goes. I understand that. So there's some caveats to what they're willing to do, and I understand that. But the bottom line, I mean, all this conversation about all these issues are moot if we, as a community, decide we don't want that facility in our county.
That is true, but is there any other way? Because I do understand that we have people that seriously need help. I mean, do we put them in the hospital for that period? I mean, they don't want them there for that period of time, which is a long period of time. These people, a lot of people will never outgrow their problems. So it's
What's
a
it-
long-term thing.
we got a double-edged sword here. On one hand, we want to help the mentally
Yeah.
ill and we want to focus on Cowlitz County. At the same time, if you're asking a private business to do that and they build a facility for 100 people and we only have 80 here to service them and they have 20 beds left, they're gonna go out to try and fill those beds if somebody else can bring them. But they did make a commitment that if they transported somebody in from outside the county, they would transport them back out
Did do
at
that.
the conclusion of their assistance or their services. So, but outside there is the risk, like Steve was saying earlier, that they talked about, because there is, if they're not, what's the term I want, forced to stay there, if they're not being held against their will, and it can be a walk-in, walk-out service, they could walk out and be in Cowlitz County. So there is a small risk of a number of people being able to do that. But if we're trying to build a facility to service Cowlitz County and say only Cowlitz County people can be there, you're probably forcing, a private business isn't gonna be able to do that.
I understand that. I understand that. I'm just hoping that you have the guidelines, and apparently you're telling me that you do. That, I mean, because they need to make money to be able to function. I understand that. But again, we don't want, I mean, I'm talking like maybe 300, 400 people that we don't have the resources to take care of, put into our communities. And we can't have that either. So, but you're telling me that cravat, I mean, that restriction would be given to that Evergreen Enterprise, so that if they do come in from another city, they are taken out. Correct?
Yes, that's what I understood.
Yeah.
Okay, that would, I go, because again, we have to take care of our people, but with that, then, okay, I'm all for it. That would be a good thing. I just don't want what I was fearing to have happen. So,
The thing is that there's already a strain on our services to the level that a lot of people aren't aware of. I'll give you an example. If our deputies or police, they arrest somebody, take them to the jail, and they get an evaluation that says that they have mental illness, mental health, mental issues, whatever the situation is mentally, they get put into the jail. We have now eliminated a third of our capacity because that individual has to stay in a cell by themselves. And so that puts a strain on our services to the level that we're sometimes not able to take everybody into the jail that needs to be taken in.
Yeah.
Same thing at the hospital. They only have so many beds there. So we're recycling these people in essence through our own system, through the own programs that we have, because we don't have any way to take care of them in the situation that they're in. So that's what I'm saying. We need to look at the strain that we're already putting on our services and asking ourselves, do we want to continue down this path? And if so, it's not going to get any better. I mean,
yeah, I
everything
totally,
has its positives and its negatives, and we need to, as a community, decide, is this worth it to us?
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. But and that is for the long-term care for these people. I'm talking about the people that are marginal, that they can get some treatment, and then they might think, well, all right, I think he can function well enough to be put into the community. Okay, that community should be where they came from. That's
I
all
agree.
I'm saying. If it's long-term, they're not going to be a problem. They're not going to be on our streets. And again, we really do need to take care of our people that are like that. And so I'm all for that. And I just don't want them, when they've been treated, especially if they're marginal, because they will need further treatment usually down the line. That was my major in college. so I do know a lot about mental illness and other aspects. It's sometimes not completely treatable, but they can function to some degree. Now, those are the people that I worry about, because when they can function to some degree, they will be let out and they need someplace to go. So it sounds like you've got a plan, so that sounds good. I'm happy with that. And you answered my questions, and so I'm happy with that. I appreciate that, because again, we're pretty well maxed in our community, taking care of our own, but we do need what you're talking about, because we do have people that really cannot function
Yeah.
in society.
So I have a question for you, Flo, and this is a clarifying question that I really want to know the answer to this. This is not a condescending question. Anybody in the group, please help me understand this, because I've had this said to me multiple times. We need to take care of our own. We need to make sure that our people are taken care of.
Correct.
What does that mean?
Okay, if you're a Cowlitz County citizen that you've lived here, you have lived here, you haven't come in within the last week, then you are our own. You've lived here, you've paid taxes, you've come from a family that has lived here, paid taxes. You've been a product of a foundation of our community. Okay, you've been a product. Either you were born here from parents that have been here, or you've been here a number of years. I don't know if you want to put a number on that years, but you didn't come last week. You didn't come 2 days ago. That's what I'm talking about, our own.
So I struggle with that. And let me tell you why. The paying taxes in our community. What kind of taxes do you think those people are paying in our community?
They've paid property taxes. They've paid consumption taxes of either gas or food, or not food, anything that they've purchased, whether it be lumber or anything. They've paid into the community. They even had a job where they've worked, they've promoted, some kind of a industry because they've worked in the community. They've had a job. They are our own because they have given back to our community.
See, the way that I look at that, and this is just from personal experience, is we all struggle. And it's a human problem. It's not a Cowlitz County citizen problem. And when my daughter had the illness, the mental illness and the substance abuse problem that she had, I was grateful that there was a place in Seattle that took us in, and that they didn't have the attitude that we need to take care of our own first.
But see, they're
That attitude that a lot of people have is we need to take care of our own. At some point, I wasn't an our own either. I moved here. And so I don't have distinct lines. I'm not looking at Cowlitz County boundaries and saying, I'm not going to help you. You need help, and we have the services to help you. But because you're not from here, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I struggle with that.
okay. Let me go on to your what you've just said. All right. Seattle has much deeper pockets than what Longview Kelso has, our community, our county. Okay. When we help, and it's just like the immigration policy that people are concerned about. Yes, you want to help people, but if you are endangering because you're not taking care of your people that live here, then what are you doing? Like you say, if you took your daughter to Seattle, their pockets, their community, their counties have much deeper pockets than we do. We don't have the facilities.
It's all tax dollars. I mean, it doesn't matter what community you're in. You're talking about tax dollars. Somebody comes through here and they buy 1 tank of gas, they've paid taxes. I mean, I understand what you want to do to try and draw a line.
I'm
but
trying to, because I'm looking at the agencies that are trying to help the people that are out there needing help, and they're struggling. Okay, they're not all, I mean, some of them are not struggling that much, but some of them are. And what I'm trying to say is if we're overloaded with like 300 people, they won't be able to handle, then what do those people do? Where do they go?
I
Oh,
don't
Village
envision-
isn't there anymore.
Out of all of this, I don't envision anybody putting up billboards on the highway that says, come to Cowlitz County, we got a few extra beds. I mean, I don't see that happening.
Come on, guys, you know what I'm saying.
I understand.
I'm just saying I don't want our community to be overwhelmed by people that we
None of us
wouldn't
do.
have to be.
None of us do.
Okay, thank you, because you're making me sound like I'm ogre and I don't care about these people, and I do care about them, but I want them to go to a facility that has the ability to take them in and do the problem and take care of that problem. Where that if we come here, we can only take care of them, only afford to take care of them for a short period of time. And they need more than that. They need,
If we
okay, I'm
can,
sorry. Thank you.
is that okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for us? Okay, I'm gonna adjourn our meeting and let's give 5 minutes and we'll get Board of Health out here and start that one up, okay?